Prime IV Delray Beach helps you feel better, look better, and perform better with IV vitamin therapy. Each of our IV drips is the equivalent of 2.5 gallons of hydration and a custom blended mix of vitamins designed to help you reach your health goals. The top complaints we address are more energy, better sleep, sports recovery, meaning less soreness when you work out, or a great boost to your immune system. Come in if you're feeling under the weather or to help stave off those nasty bugs if someone's in your house and brought them home. Use the code word SWEET, SWEET, for 20% off any IV treatment valid at the Delray Beach location only.
Hello, everybody. This is Andrea, Trout, and I'm here with
Carolina Rush, a.k.a.
Spicy Spice. And this is the Sweet and Spicy podcast. And we are here with our special guest, Sam Ghanem.
The hilariously funny Sam Ghanem.
And intelligent and beautiful and amazing. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And Sam is here because we're going to talk about a really interesting topic today that Sam has kind of embodied in the year 2024, which is self-transformation. You've had a year, girl.
I have. Is that what we're calling it, though?
What do you want to call it?
I don't know. I just think it's just...
the year of magic transformation.
It's like this... necessity to look at things as one big life instead of compartments. And so it's a transformation, yeah, but it feels more right than I did before.
Which maybe there's a different word for it we'll stumble upon as we have this conversation, which is fine. And then that'll be our title, which is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
It all figures itself out. So
we had been talking actually about doing an episode like this because, for one, I've noticed that in the last year, but particularly in the last 6 months, it seems like mental and physical transformations have been happening a lot more than maybe I recognized before, or they're just really happening more often. You know, between losing weight, getting fit, having more procedures done. Some people even quit drinking, trying different things like Andrea and I and many other people we know have gone on our own physical transformation journey. And you seem to be on yours doing something particularly a little bit different, like 75 hard, which in my opinion is extremely hard.
that's why it's called 75 hard.
Right. So I did try it at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I did it, which was many years ago, the concept behind it was for 75 days, and every day you had to do a good deed, take a 5-minute cold shower, you had to read for 10 minutes, you had to drink at least 8 glasses of water a day, and you had to work out twice a day for 45 minutes, and one of those had to be outside, rain or shine.
Right. So
did I miss anything?
I think that's like a version.
Okay.
So the David Goggins bullet point is 75 days of the following, and if you fall off, you start over. So it's a gallon of water a day, 2 45-minute workouts, 3 hours apart minimum. One has to be outside, rain or shine. 10 pages of personal development reading, no alcohol, a clean diet, journaling.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Anything on sleep?
Well, I guess I don't remember if it was so many hours.
I think it was.
But in reality, if you think about all those things, you're hyper scheduled.
Yeah.
So inevitably, you're going to go to sleep.
And really, Goggins doesn't.
He doesn't sleep.
He
probably
doesn't
sleeps upside
prioritize
down.
sleep.
And when I had done it, I lasted 32 days, and then I got sick.
Right.
And that was it. And I think the thought of, gosh, every time you miss something or you miss a day, you got to start all over was super overwhelming for me. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, there's going to be a day where I miss 10 pages of reading, or I didn't do a good deed, or whatever the case may be. And so that kind of ruined it for me. But
that's why it's called 75 hard.
right,
Because it's
but I just know
dedication,
myself.
discipline.
For me, something shifted where I recognized that everything in my life was hard, and everything felt begrudging, and everything felt like a punishment. And I didn't recognize it as anything different, and I never framed it in those words because it was just my life. I started the year out really sick. It was not a good time for me. I was not coping with my emotions at all. And then to have a milestone birthday, turning 40 at the end of December, and then the start of the year, really, really sick, super high fevers, very confused as to what the root cause was, living alone, wondering, is this how life's going to be, having not coped with a lot of my stuff, and then being that sick for almost a month. You see a lot of dark, and then eventually, thank goodness and thank God, I saw some light. And my epiphany was, I'm doing all this work anyway. I get the same number of hours as everyone else. I always show up for what I believe anyway is my best self, and I give 110%. But the internal lashing that I give myself or gave myself was so awful. So instead of looking at it like, if I mess up, I'm going to have to start over, I looked at it like, I have all of the tools, skill set, and faculties to do these things if I choose. And I can actually formulate a system that makes me softer with myself. So by planning my day out using 75 hard as my benchmark, everything I did became more thoughtful. My sleep patterns were more thoughtful. My water intake was better. I'm not drinking alcohol. So I'm not suppressing my emotions by way of something that for me is very toxic.
Right.
I don't have any crazy story of, why I quit drinking, thank God. I don't have, it wasn't.
I was going to ask you,
Yeah. I don't
what
have
was
anything. I was fed up with being fed up, and I was really tired of managing and putting a face on, and then coming home to my reality of either work that wasn't getting done, my physical inability to cope with things from years back, things that were on the horizon, and most certainly life that was going to continue, hopefully. Whether that was, old relationships, maybe mourning my old past self, business, pressure, life, nothing exotic, but when it all accumulates, as much as I'm a strong person, I'm not too strong to admit, or I actually think it's strength to admit rather, that I wasn't okay anymore. And I wasn't proud of myself. And I think that once I recognized you lay everything out for your business, you lay everything out for people that come to you as a resource, and I end up coaching people in this strange way. And when it comes to other people, it's very easy for me to anticipate their excuses, to anticipate all the obstacles they're going to create for themselves and the stories they tell themselves, and to call them on their bullshit, basically. It's very easy for me. But when it came to myself, I wouldn't find excuses. I just was not nice to myself. And when you're not nice to yourself, it's like the analogy of, the plants, like you talk to a plant nicely and it flourishes, and you talk to a plant negatively and it doesn't. The same premise. And something like literally a switch, almost like a part of me died. I don't know how else to say it. It was like a circuit breaker, like a flip. And I just thought,
did other people notice the change in you?
They did. And I think that I typically do things pretty extremely anyway. So I wonder, not that I care what anyone thinks, to be completely honest, the people that I care most as far as their opinions are my village. And, my family was concerned with my well-being. And my family, my extended, my friends, my village. But people started noticing, and it was interesting because they were like noticing things that I'm like, they warmed my heart. They were like, there's something different here. And it wasn't superficial. Like the body benefit of using 75 Hard again as just the platform, the body benefit was like the last thing that I thought about.
Right.
Just the routine, the discipline. And like, I got to get up at 5:30 and have 2 hours to myself. I don't have kids. I don't have a partner. I have a business. That's like having 10 husbands, 10 wives, and a bunch of kids under 5 is what it feels like some days.
Right.
It's liberating and
Really?
and it is. It's beautiful. It's liberating. It's your own form of being a badass and a trailblazer in your own right. However you want to frame it. But most days it's not for the faint of heart. And you rely on yourself to make all these decisions, and everyone's looking at you to make sure, you do the thing. You do whatever you say you're going to do. But the biggest thing I think is when people were just like, something's different. And I, in general, feel calm. Like it's not a face anymore.
Right.
And I'm not internally just panicked. Like, we're here recording this podcast, and oh no, I have a million things on my mind. I don't. I'm really happily here with you.
Right.
And it's interesting because to me, the shift was, I don't even think I knew you were doing 75 hard. That wasn't what I was aware of. It was just you were different. And so I think, you knew that she had chosen 75 hard, and somewhere it didn't cross my awareness, which is interesting, right?
Right.
But because some people, and we've talked about this before, it's how you approach something. And the shift is, because people can do 75 hard and they don't approach it with the mindset that you came at this with. And that to me is the biggest part of this, like, whatever you want to call it, this transformation that you've made. You came at it with, like you said, you were sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you kind of had hit a point where it was just so painful you had to change.
Right.
And that's what all the people I've listened to that are like the personal, gurus or whatever, say, that you just get to that pain point, and pain is more powerful than pleasure, of I can't be this way anymore. And it's actually really great that you didn't have a story of like,
Thank God.
with drinking, that like a lot of people do, where they have to go get help because it's just, they're going to die.
Right. It was my version, to tell you the truth, in a way, of like my own story of rock bottom in the sense from an emotional perspective. I just was raised in a family where your strength was that you got up every day and you did the work, the physical work, the building of the house work, the showing up early and the leaving late. That was the work, none of the internal work.
Right.
You mentioned how we noticed this year kind of like an increase. I do comedy classes with a gentleman by the name of Michael Panzica. He's a therapist by trade, and he says that your awareness is brought upon by your needs. And I say, if you spot it, you got it.
Right.
Usually you're noticing something that you are noticing because you need to notice it. I don't think there was any more or less new year, new me happening.
Right.
It's just that we're aware of it because of where we are at individually in our own life.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I even noticed, and I told you when we went out to dinner, that I saw, not even knowing what you were doing, I noticed a shift. Like, you seemed much more calm and happier. And I don't know if I told you this then, but I had always thought you were intense a little bit. You were not like that. I'm like, what happened? Like,
I'm definitely still intense, okay?
okay,
She's like, don't take that away from me.
nowhere near
This
what you
is
were.
earned,
For
girl.
me to notice, like, okay, oh my gosh, like, she's like a whole nother person.
Yeah.
But it's such an internal shift. Like, it's so beautiful, because that's what I'm saying. Like, somebody can approach a 75 hard and they haven't made that internal shift. And
But it's not even just about the 75.
I know,
hard.
that's exactly what I'm saying. It's whatever they're approaching, it doesn't matter. It's how you approach it.
Right. Like I can say, and my sister is probably one of the more balanced people that I know. And if she's listening, she's dying laughing because she knows she's far from balanced. So that means I need to find new people who are balanced. But she would say to
balanced?
me, no, I think it's harmony. And when I figured out that what I love to do is I love to dance. I love dancing. It's my favorite thing to do. I don't know. I not only wasn't doing enough of it, if I did any of it, I wasn't remembering when I was anyway.
Right.
At least not like I want to. But more of what I mean is a good dance is a harmonious dance. It doesn't mean it's perfect and it's choreographed and it's like, formally trained dance. It just means it's harmonious. It flows and it feels good. And there's like a tempo that is sustainable. That's how I'm looking at things now.
Right.
I'm never going to create balance. I don't even know what the hell that is.
It's a myth.
And I think that was where I was setting myself up for eternal failure, aspiring and reaching for these things that for me don't exist. It's like expecting to wake up tomorrow with blonde, straight hair.
Right.
It's literally not going to organically happen, and I would scare you all if I did that to myself on purpose. My sister, though, would say to me, like, why is something so extreme? And like I did a couple competitions. I've done all of the different Spartans and DECA races. I did an IFBB physique and bikini competition. And there's lots of extremes in that end. And so what happens is you do the thing, you check off the goal, you go right back to your old ways. Good or bad, they're your old ways. I felt so strongly in this decision that was as a result of being in a very bad place. And I think what happened is I looked at myself for the first time as someone that I love. And I thought, if this was you, if this was my sister, if this was my mom, if this was either of you women sitting in front of me, experiencing what I was, I would do everything in my power to save you. And I would show you why it's worth it. And I would
Right.
show you why throwing the towel is not an option, and why if you weren't here, it would be a problem for the planet. And I'm not being dramatic. Those were the conversations I had with myself because I did not think I had a place here.
Right.
And it was like a switch. And I'm like, no, if you would do this for your sister and your mom, then you need to do it for you, for your sister and your mom.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be a statistic.
Right.
And I was headed in a direction that would have made me one. And I don't even want to think about it.
Right.
I just know that in such a short time, I have found who I am and created who I want to be. And I'm only at the precipice of, it's this big. When I recognize that every one of us has everything we need inside of us, and I'm not trying to coach or preach, there's nothing that you need that is outside of you. You were simply born as a complete being, period, end of story. Things get chipped away at us, our upbringing, our nature, our nurture. Our parents also have what they have and they imparted on us, and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
75 hard just became a fundamental catalyst, but I'm still doing it. So I'm doing like the equivalent of what they call 75 soft. I don't track anything though. I work out a minimum of once a day. It's always outside. 3 times a week, it's probably twice a day. It's just how my week flows. Every single morning I wake up, no tech, and I journal. Period. There's no stupid phone. There's no computer. I don't care that you emailed me.
Right.
I always get up between 5:30 and 6. I didn't sleep too well last night. I was up walking at 7. It's a 5K every morning, and there's no phone call while I'm walking. It's a podcast, or it's not even really music. It's a podcast, or I'll do like what they call color meditating, and I'll identify color on my walk and make sure I can continue spotting it.
Right.
On Yamato Road, you need to be mindful that you're not meditating too deeply. And then my diet, I track my macros for my protein, 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Okay, so I should be in the 100, 110, something like that. I don't drink. I now think of all the different mocktails I can make, and I discovered one that's like an Aperol Spritz equivalent. It's so good.
Really?
I'm getting club soda wasted.
So I have 2 questions for you since you're describing what it is. Number 1 is with regard to the program itself that you're doing with all those steps. Number 1, what is the most difficult one to achieve on a daily basis or whatever? And 2, how has this affected your business and your relationship since you started?
So the hardest thing I would say is constantly reminding myself that none of these things I'm talking about are tasks. They're a gift. I'm able-bodied and I'm able to do them all. And they set me up for success. And we live in a place that the 90% of the day is the day you can walk outside. It's
Right.
the 10% that you can't. I've had a walking pad since January. I've used it 3 times.
Yeah.
I wonder why I have it, honestly. And I love being outside.
Have you been to the Spanish River
Yeah,
complex?
all the time.
So that's where I do my
beautiful.
45, 50-minute walk with
beautiful.
weights. It is amazing.
It's gorgeous.
You haven't been, have you?
It's
You
gorgeous.
have to meet me there one day. It's awesome.
It's gorgeous. And then you can even pop in the library and do some work.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
I'm afraid of the gators.
I mean, okay,
Do you
don't
know
get
that
so close.
I walked the other day and I got to this part where it was really, there was a lot of vegetation. And then, they have the sign like right there, like don't feed, don't swim, gators may be present. And I started to walk into it and I was like, it's like, no, I'm going to turn around and go back the other way.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen one?
No, but they're there.
That's
They are
hilarious.
there.
And I'm
sure,
always
but
looking
it's-
around. Listen,
they're
I
not,
ran
like,
into a
chasing
raccoon the
people.
other day and I was taking pictures of it. And I swear the thing got on all 4s and was like, looked like it was going to attack me. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
You're so funny.
The iguanas remind me enough of dinosaurs.
Oh,
I'm good.
yeah.
So I'd say the biggest challenge for me is just reminding myself on the days where it feels tough. Like I've got the standard workload plus in front of me. And let's say I'm not as timely as I want it to be, or something ran over, right? Because everything bleeds into the next thing. That I'll have to just be like, okay, just chill and take a breath. Like you get to go on that walk. And if it didn't happen this morning, like it's going to happen. Sometimes on those days, then my days are longer. So then the biggest challenge is the sleep. But I'll say this. I am in REM. My 4 or 5 hours, I slept 3 hours last night. This is my first cup of coffee. Like I don't live off of caffeine at all. What I'm saying is like I'm getting legitimate sleep. I'm not passing out. I'm not sitting in bed ruminating. or shaming or beating myself up in any way. I'm literally in bed reading and falling asleep.
Right.
How it's affected my business, everything is for the better. Clients that I wasn't in congruency with have just kind of disappeared. And it's helping me create space for those that are very much in alignment. And I would say that as far as my personal relationships are concerned, in the ways that people in their 40s have relationships, in the sense of like, you don't have to talk every second of every day, right? I don't think my relationships have been healthier. I can tell you that it's very eye-opening because you start to recognize which relationships were you carrying more of like the 90%. I don't live in a place of like 50-50. If I think about you, I reach out, and you both can attest to that, right?
Right.
If I think of you, because I think of it like your subconscious is telling you something. Just you literally don't have to respond. I'm just thinking of you.
You did that to me the other day, actually.
I'm just thinking of you. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I need something, I ask. But other than that, it's like a wellness check of I'm just thinking about you. If I had gotten some of those some days, it would have been the difference. And I'm not blaming anyone.
Right.
I'm saying it's very much on my awareness. And I've always been that way.
We all need to do a
But
better
I
job of that.
recognize that a lot of relationships I was carrying, I'm not saying I've changed. What I'm saying is I don't take it personal anymore.
It's huge.
Like, it's your life. Like, if you're married, you've got kids, you this, you that. You don't live here anymore. Also, my schedule is not the same as your schedule. Like,
Right.
It's not a personal attack on me. And like a friend of mine, for example, she's like my extended family. She has 2 young kids under 4. So tonight I'm going over there for dinner in pajamas, and we're making dinner because we're all going to hang out, because that's how I'm going to see her with her young kids. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Sam, I'm going to chime in here. What astrological sign are you?
Why are you asking me the questions I knew you were going to ask me? I'm a Capricorn.
Oh, okay.
Are you getting it? Because
Diagnose away.
Well, no, it's funny because I'm a Gemini. I just had a birthday, and
Which one of you's talking to us right now, man?
God, Janine, God, yeah, okay. So just to level with you, I am so similar to you. You have no idea, and the reason I say that is because I watched you give a full-out presentation in front of a group of women today, energy on point, on your game, projecting your voice all over that room. And when it's like you're in your meditative space where it's like, all right, now I can take a breath, I can relax. And that's how I'm so similar to that, because when I'm at work, I'm go, 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 go. As soon as I go into my apartment, I put my fleece pajama pants on and I just zone out. Like, I'm like in my meditative state. So like, I love to see your different personalities because I'm very similar to that. And I love how you feel like that room is a safe space to just kind of like let go.
Well, and yeah, so which one are we talking to right now? And she's got the whole comedy one behind her too. Do you know about that?
Oh, I know from the
Yeah,
Fem
she
City
does
thing
comedy
today that
shows.
she has a comedy show on July 14th,
That's
Sunday.
right.
See, I
Yeah.
remembered.
6 and 8 o'clock. Promo code SAM.
At Sad Man Comedy in Boca Raton.
Right, in the Royal Palm Plaza right next to Fat Cats.
And shout out to Fem City.
Yay, Fem City Boca Del Rey. I was the business spotlight this month. And it was great because the summer's usually a little quiet. So it was a beautiful gathering at Taverna Kima today. And I did. Janine's right. I got to speak on the business and play a little activity. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this because it is, do you think that something that changed within you is the intention?
150%. I'm being so sincere when I tell you, like, and I'm trying not to get emotional, not because I
You can. It's a
care
safe
to get
space.
emotional. Thank you. It's just like, there isn't a word for me yet, and I will find it. I'm, as my sister says, a wordsmith. I will create it. We will have a new Webster word if I have to make it. It's something that melds transformation, sobriety, self-love, clarity, abundance, faith, grounding, and purpose somehow. I think that, for what it's worth, I thought of it like my last shot. I haven't been happy most of my life. And I never realized it because you'll become happy. You'll get happy. You'll be successful and you'll become happy. You'll graduate with your master's and you'll be happy. You'll get married and you'll be happy. You'll have kids and you'll be happy. Your mom will finally say she's proud of you and you'll be happy. Your dad and you will have a relationship and you'll be happy. Right? Like
it's all based on external activities or other people or things that are happening. That's how most of us approach life.
And
it's external.
And I never understood. Like, I'll be honest, my ex put a coaster next to my bed and it said, be happy. And I wanted to freaking throw it.
Yeah.
What kind of affirmation is this? What does it even mean? I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And you're right, because it was all achievement based. My value was predicated on my productivity and how my family viewed me. So like when Carolina asks, like, what did people say? I'm not the rebellious teen I used to be, because I didn't care what people used to say before, but that was from a lack of self-respect. This is different. You weren't happy before when I was miserable. It wasn't good enough for you. With me being wherever it is I am today and wherever I plan to be, if that's not good for you either, then I welcome you to exit. And it doesn't matter to me who you are.
You mean from your life?
In my life in general.
Yeah.
I figured out that just because you're a mom doesn't mean you're entitled to your kids. It's a learned relationship and you have to work on it. My siblings, I have 3 older sisters. My middle sister, again, is my eyes. She's my absolute soulmate. I don't even understand how I got so lucky. That relationship is learned. It's maintained. It's nurtured.
Yeah.
When I looked at it on the flip, like we haven't been successful in our romantic lives, I'm like, well, because we don't emulate half the things we say we want.
Right.
And I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'll just stay on me. Like, no, am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I think that couples can grow together? Absolutely. But I am not looking to fall for anyone. I'm looking to rise with them or get away from me. I don't have this immature definition of love, and I don't think that it's necessary because I get to love all the time. I have so many relationships that I find valuable that are immeasurable, actually. And I said it in my presentation this afternoon. Like, I get by with a lot of help from my friends.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, it doesn't. Not one person embodies everything you need. I never believed in the structure of like when you do get married or you do have children, whether you're in a heterosexual relationship or not, that suddenly that person becomes your everything. It starts with you, and culturally speaking, there was no cup. Even if you wanted to water from your cup, there was no cup, and your love was measured by your sacrifice and your martyrship. And I'm like, not interested.
Yeah.
Like, if you want me to sacrifice myself for you, you got the wrong one.
But that's so often the way that kids are taught to approach the world. And, again, did your family emigrate here?
Yeah.
Were you born here? Or?
I'm first generation born American.
So you were born here, but your parents were born out of the U.S.?
Yeah, in Lebanon.
Right. So and I've seen it before. I have friends that are from other countries, and it's like, you come here because they want a better life, so you're going to do everything you can, and you have to be all the hopes and dreams of why they came here, which they are, and they did it for the kids.
But you carry the burden.
Right.
So
unfairly.
And in a sense, they want you to, I understand you want your children to have more than you didn't, but it doesn't mean you can project upon them your broken dreams and expect them to fulfill them.
But I understand it doesn't mean that they should, but they do. And the work of being the kid in that situation is that you don't have to take it on.
Yeah. If you're allowed to not take it on. We didn't have the option.
Well, I'm saying as an adult, because as a kid,
exactly, you don't know.
You don't have that wherewithal, that emotional intelligence to be able to say, I'm not taking on what you're trying to, and it's not just immigrants, for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, like I grew up where you weren't allowed to be sick. You didn't get to be sick. You're not sick. You're going to school.
Right.
So like and you couldn't rest. Like there wasn't time to rest for the most part. So
right.
It's interesting because again, like now rest is super important to me because as a kid, I wasn't allowed to do that, and again, memory subjective. So maybe I have a fuzzy memory about it, but that's my perception of it.
Sure.
And so it's taking what you have as an adult and saying, I don't have to take that on anymore, and having the awareness that it was projected onto you.
Completely. And then getting to a place, and this is where my sister's so good, and my cousin, she's like my little sister. She's not so little. She'll remind me, like, you got to understand it for you, and adjust how you move for you. Because if you expect them at this place in their life, 70, 75 years old, to jump on the bandwagon
Right.
that you're on, you're out of your mind.
Right.
If they weren't flexible then,
Yeah.
forget it. And
Yeah.
she's not saying they're not worth it. She's saying in order to have a relationship, meet them where they're at, accept them for who they are, and you control how you
100%.
move.
Exactly.
Right? I tend to go, no. We're going to school you and you're going to, and it makes me not only aggressive and unapproachable,
Yeah.
it doesn't come off as very loving.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say, through the work with a therapist and comedy classes, honestly, I have a place to put it, a
Yeah.
place to work through it. And when you can poke fun at something, you know you're closer to the other side than not.
All day.
Right.
It's like what you said on one of our recent episodes about practicing the pause with your
Yep.
mom, where your
That's
mom would
exactly
trigger
what
you.
I was just thinking about when she
Because
said
you
that.
can't control your mom.
No.
And
so
she knows
I'm the
how
one
to
that had
trigger
to
you.
break the cycle.
Yeah.
And I had to change my reaction and my response. And it has brought so much peace.
Sure. And you're a mom yourself. So, like, going from a daughter to a mom.
Right.
Right?
Right. You said something earlier. I didn't want to end without saying this. We have some time still, but you had said, life is hard and no matter what, it's going to be hard and whatever. So this quote actually came up on my Facebook feed this morning and it resonated with me. And it says, choose your hard. It says, marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Obesity is hard. Being fit is hard. Choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. Communication is hard. Not having communication is hard. Choose your hard. Life will never be easy. It will always be hard, but we can choose our hard. Pick wisely.
Sure.
And that really resonated with me.
Yeah. And I've seen that before and I do like it, but I also have a viewpoint of, and I see this so much in you, Sam, like it's amazing where it's exactly what you said, where you don't choose to look at the things that you do now as hard. You say, I get to do, these are gifts. And that is what I think the shift in you that is the biggest shift is you no longer look at going for a 45-minute walk or doing a 45-minute workout or 2 a day as hard. You're like, this is a gift.
Completely.
That to me, if somebody can shift their viewpoint of my marriage is hard versus man, my marriage is a gift.
But things could still be a gift and still be hard. I mean, being a mother is an absolute tremendous gift, but nobody's going to tell me that's easy. It is very hard
Sure.
to be a single mom.
I'm not
but
saying
at
that.
the same time, it's the biggest gift anybody's ever given me.
But I think that when we label things as hard, it takes on a different energy is what my point is.
Sure.
And like if I'm looking at it, because I agree with you, I think being a parent is the most challenging job in the world. There's no doubt in my mind. So, but it's more of an energy of like, I'm not a mom. I would love to be a mom. We've talked about that. How amazing would I find it to deal with a teenager? Like, and have a conversation with you about, I chose this. This is so challenging. And at the same time, the biggest amazing blessing. But it's that intention with which you look at something that that's the shift I see in you.
I think for me, and I don't know if people can relate, but I can say it this way. Being as unhappy as I was and becoming almost borderline apathetic for somebody who's so empathetic, a walking empath, a walking feeling, I'm like Velcro. And figuring out that, okay, there's certain activities in my life that aren't supplementing this theoretical gift, but felt like a punishment to be an empath, to feel you when you'd walk in the door, to end up in bed for a day or two because I could feel, or you'd share with me something and my whole body would ache. And then I would go, okay, well, what are you doing to help yourself? Do you move that energy? Do you leave her and then go do something before you come home to then bring all that stuff to you? No. When you're having a bad day, what do you do with it? Do you write it down? Do you tell somebody? Do you literally expletive central on a piece of paper and burn it? Do you rant on the phone, then delete the recording? Do you scream in your car? No, you just shove it. Cool. Now, do you want to go off tequila? Of course I want to have tequila.
Right.
Tequila is the best thing on the planet. I love tequila. What's your name? Tequila. It's a recipe for absolute disaster for me.
Yeah.
When I figured out it's those layers of the onion that had to go away and I wasn't looking to solve the problems, I recognized probably for me why the intention shifted so much. I can say it in a different way, maybe. I listened to a Wim Hof and Stephen Bartlett podcast yesterday, and I'm fascinated by him. I love
By
cold.
Wim Hof.
Yeah.
Who, just for people that don't know, Wim Hof he's the guy that kind of created the cold plunge, and he
Right.
has a very specific breathing technique. So amazing, amazing breathing technique. Even if you're not going to do the cold plunge, the breathing technique can be life-changing.
And I didn't know about him that he was a squatter and that his wife took her life.
Wow.
She said bye to her kids and in front of them jumped from the 8-foot building.
Sad.
Her and her brother, him and her brother are who found her.
Wow. I didn't know that either. Super interesting.
And he says, you have a great deal of responsibility, but you have the great ability to respond.
I love that.
And I was listening and I was walking. And then I was like, okay, don't get hit by a car. Stop, play it back. I listened again. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the end, if I'm dealing with the turmoil, if my reactions are explosive and toxic and substance filled, the problem is 100 times more magnified.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's for me because I do have a great deal of responsibility.
Yeah.
Is it self-induced? Yes. Are we in it for the win? Yes.
Right.
There's no way out of this.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I figured like for everyone that I feel is important in my life, they do deserve the best of me, but I deserve the best of me first.
Absolutely.
I think of all the things I would give in relationships, and then those relationships didn't work out. And why would I be left feeling so empty? They didn't do that to me. I did it to myself.
Yeah.
And then I thought, if I were me, would I want to marry me? Would I want to date me? Would I want to invest with me? Would I want to build a house with me? Would I want to raise kids with me? Would I want to get a dog with me? No. All right then, Sam.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
And it's the number one thing that like Joe Dispenza, who I've been to his seminars and stuff, he says, because he gets asked all the time and it annoys the crap out of him. He said he went to Australia and they're like, how do I find a partner? And he finally, one day he sat down with some reporter in Australia and he'd been asked this on his tour of Australia. And he was like fed up. And he finally goes, look, write down everything you want in a partner. He goes, now become it.
100%.
And it really is the truth, right? And it is, it's hard. It's a hard truth. It's a hard truth.
Right.
So I'm going back to that in that a lot of people have to swallow that pill of I'm not who I would want to marry.
Yeah, and
be with.
And I decided I wasn't dating in 2024 either. I don't want the
Yeah.
energy exchange. I don't want the distraction. And for every reason we aren't right for each other is another reason I could do right by me, whatever that is. And I'm not saying that I'm not open. I meet people all the time, both for business and even personal. I could talk to a paper bag. I'm gay for the people, as I say. I love people. And in comedy, it has its own community. I mean, there's new faces
Yeah.
all the time. And I'm very much energized by people today. I don't find people draining for the most part.
Right.
But I just don't want to date this year. I want to take every ounce of my energy and put it in me.
Which is, again, intentional.
Completely. I have been extremely intense and fierce about it, but soft. And I'll say it this way. If I could say anything to anyone, I would tell David Goggins, thank you for making 75 hard make me softer on myself.
So interesting. That's beautiful.
I think that we all go, before we wrap up, I think that we all, when we go through mental and even physical transformations, I believe that we all learn something. When we go through major changes like this and major shifts in our lives, I think we all learn something about ourselves. And, you know, I don't know what it was for you, but for me, in the last year, I learned I was a hell of a lot stronger than I thought I was. And I'm curious to know, what's the one thing you've learned about yourself throughout this transformation?
There are two things. That I am here for one big life. That every single thing I do connects to the next thing. I'm not one person at work and one person at home. I'm not one way as a sister and another way as a friend. That I'm one. and that there's not a single thing I need that's outside of me. Not one thing.
Love it. What about you?
Well, and you said that in the beginning, and that is, my class I did in Santa Monica, that's one of the tenets, that everybody has everything they need. And we're born that way. And something you said earlier about things can chip away at it, I actually would put it a little bit different. I don't think anything chips away at it. I think you have everything you need at any given moment. I think stuff can cover it up, and we're told lies and mistruths about ourselves. And we start, that's what happens as kids unintentionally. We take things to mean something that aren't true.
Right.
And that to me is the work as an adult, to realize I put meaning on this, or somebody told me something as a kid, and I like, oh, aren't you a cute chubby kid or whatever, right? And all of a sudden you took that on as an identity, and they didn't even know that they were giving you this burden to bear forever, or until you had the work as an adult, right? So to me, there's nothing that can chip away at that core of who you are. You have everything you need. It's all inside of you right now.
It's just it was covered up with a bunch of shit.
Yeah, and Andy Vallely talks about that.
Right.
That's what her program is. It's covered up in a lot of layers of shit or different things, and that's what we start to believe. And you can see it so clearly. And like you said, it's so easy to see it in other people.
It's very easy.
It's so easy. It's so hard for most of us to see it in ourselves.
I think it's because when we grow up, the way we show love is outside.
Mm-hmm.
When you come over, I give you a big hug. I ask you what you want for dinner. I get your favorite wine. I buy your favorite flowers. We see your favorite movie. Because to see you happy makes me happy. We had to create this word self-love because it wasn't innate.
Right.
And if I had a word for that, it's resentment. And instead of me sitting in my resentment, I'm like, all right, kid, I'm going to self-love the shit out of myself. Period.
It is interesting that we had to make it self-love.
Yeah, we had to make a word for it.
Because love really, especially if you look at the Greek, there's different forms of love, right? So I guess it's in line with that, but that we had to make a word for self-love in the English language.
When you're 40, you're going to self-love now. And you're like, oh, okay, so I was born backwards, and I don't mean breech. What?
Yeah. But I do think that we're starting to see, we've all seen the videos of the little girl in the mirror going, you're marvelous, you're beautiful, you're strong. It's changing at this younger generation. And it's because parents are becoming this consciousness, this awareness. And that's the key. The awareness is key of that. And we've talked about it before, that awareness of what our operating system is running in the background. And you had that beautiful moment of everything I look at in my life, I'm doing begrudgingly, and I don't like it.
It's awful. The other thing I think about is, how everything in life is more accessible today? Alcohol and drugs, for example. Cool. You know what else is accessible? Therapy.
Yes.
Right.
It's not as taboo anymore. Now you're like, oh, tell me about your therapist. You get sexy. You go to therapy. You're like, that is so attractive.
Yeah.
Okay? So I choose to look at things that way, too.
Right.
And when we get older, you're like, no, I need to know your credit score first. It's the first thing I need to know.
Right.
It's I need to know, how often do you see your therapist?
Right.
I don't even want to know about your upbringing. I just need to know how often you see your therapist. If you think it's taboo, you're not for me. Honestly, it's not so hush-hush anymore.
Right.
But I feel and it's amazing, and kudos to these parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Because those kids are going to be the ones that hopefully run the world from a place of enlightenment.
Sure.
Right?
It gives me a little bit more of a softer side for my parents, honestly, because they didn't have those tools.
None of it.
And they literally did what they could with what they had.
Right.
My mom always told me I never grew up with a book on how to raise kids.
Right.
And it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my dad had ADHD, which wasn't a thing in 1960s and 50s, and was just told he was stupid. He's so freaking not stupid. He can tinker and figure shit out like an engineer, and he was a mechanic. But because he couldn't do traditional learning in late 1950s and 60s, it's just so different now. Whereas now, oh, you have your own plan, and you have this own coordinator, and this is your own thing. It's all individualized, and that there was none of it. How does somebody adjust? They don't. So he drank.
Right.
Right.
Mel Robbins talks about that. So apparently she has
Severe.
full-blown, severe attention deficit, all the things.
Wow.
But she's got the ability to have the power of the mic, so she can talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is really honestly why I respect this so much. I really do. Even if the three of us are the only audience, the fact of the matter is, which we're not, but even if we
We're not. We have like 58 others.
I know. It's like, there's like a few out there. Come
But
on,
to
spread the word,
Janine's-
people.
To Janine's point, it's easy to be bold and very in your face, you know, on one hand. And then on another hand, a little bit more introspective and just kind of sitting here comfortably chatting. My monotone voice comes out on the mic, but it's because I feel comfortable and because I feel like I'm just so grateful to have a voice that does project, that may capture someone's ear. I don't even mean an audience. I mean one human.
Right.
Right.
It cliche, not cliche. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I knew that there was a different way for me to dredge my own path for my focus being just making a difference.
Yeah.
Even if it's one person.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't have it. I have 3 older sisters and they're just trying to figure this shit out as best as they can too.
That's what everybody on
Right.
the planet is doing.
Like, yeah, it's not like you're you're the youngest. You have all these role models. Yep, of what not to do.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. So then I had just a horrible definition of marriage, of kids, abort mission. No, don't want it. Like all these no's and never knowing what I was saying no to.
Right. So we have to wrap up, but before we wrap up, I want to know what's next for you.
Interesting. This is the hot seat. What's next for me?
What are you going to do with all of this?
I'm going to continue on this exact path at a minimum for the remainder of this year. I've also incorporated 30-day goals. So every 30 days, it's something new. I'm going to continue to pour into myself and my community ferociously.
Have you thought about maybe mentoring?
Yes. And thank you. Yes.
That's what I was thinking in my head, like the whole time you've been talking.
I don't know how I'm going to angle it, but it's like happening anyways.
Right.
And I feel very, very fulfilled by it. But I feel like I'm more in a place to do it because I'm emulating some of it. And I say that with humility. I don't say it in any way to talk, from over somebody or
Well, you
to
have to
preach
be able
them.
to lead by example.
No doubt, but also to say some days it's shit.
Right.
But I think it's like Goggins. I mean, he's provided a roadmap for you of sorts. That's all it is. You've been somewhere and done something. Some people may say extraordinary or, that other people want to do. So emulate, yes.
Yeah.
And that's a gift to others. And that's what you're saying, like, even if there's one voice, So it's, and I don't think you have to figure out the how, if I can give you any feedback on that.
Sure.
Just set the intention that you're going to do it and the how will find you. And you're going to be like, holy shit, I would never have saw it coming from that direction in 10,000 years.
Right.
I could have tried to figure out the hows and it would look nothing like that.
Right.
Just set because what like I've said, your thing to me right now is you're so intentional with how your being is. Set the intention of this is what I want to feel in mentoring somebody or coaching. The how is going to show up in like such a miraculous way.
But you just said it. It's the first time I'm being a human being, not a human doing.
No.
It really feels like it's the first time.
But you were doing the best you can with what you had.
Sure. I just mean if that's that word almost is more reflective of me than transformation maybe.
Right.
Is
Human
that I'm
being.
Well, I'm super, super proud of you.
Thank you.
And I have totally seen the changes and I envy you and you should be really proud of yourself.
I honestly am. And I'm really proud of you girls. Thank you so much.
I'm happy for you. And I'm glad you came on to talk about it and be vulnerable.
Thank you.
And we'll have to do a checking in with Sam
We can. I'll bring the
in a
mocktails
few
next
months
time.
and see. Yeah, for sure.
Aperol Spritz mocktail.
Oh my gosh, so good. Lear's is the brand. Aperitif Rosso. You're welcome.
Nice.
You should do a podcast, Sam, called Wellness Check.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe that could be something. Oh, yeah, there you go.
like check in. Like let's
See,
check
that's
in
what
with
I'm
everyone.
saying. This could be your next. You could maybe start a podcast where you do this, and this is how you mentor not just one person, but whoever might need it. See, an idea was just born.
I was on a podcast called The Connector, and her name is Ariel, and we were talking.
I'm good friends with Ariel Levitt.
She's
Actually, I
delicious.
love her.
She's wonderful. And we were going back and forth, and I was like, I just found my voice again. It was the strangest thing. It was really, truly the strangest thing. So
Maybe you could call it that. Something with finding your voice again.
they might expect me to sing. We're not doing that.
And you could throw in a joke here and there with your comedy.
I'm a little funny. A little bit.
You're so funny. Oh my gosh. I really enjoyed your comedy show I came to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We're
it was
working on a solid 5 to 6 minutes. I didn't say that.
I have no doubt you will get there.
Thank you, girls.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Thanks for
in. It
being
was
here.
amazing. Amazing conversation.
Thank you so much.
And be sure to
Stay tuned.